channel here over at SubScribestar. So Assassin's Creed Shadows, the Kotaku certified soy boy review, and he is a soy boy. Bolshevik found family propaganda is the key takeaway for this. And first of all, I want to say that woke, whether it's across video games or movies or any format you're familiar with, has not gone away. People seem to think it is. Wait until you have a few years of some sort of return to normalcy before you get your hopes up. There's got to be like 5 years of regular movies, and there's not a single part of me that believes that's going to happen. Like the odds are just overwhelming because companies, Disney, Warner Brothers, or Ubisoft, or any of these companies that are out there right now would have to have a fundamental realignment, a come to Jesus moment, usually in the form of some kind of business readjustment that somebody forces them to take, like the stockholders or another company stockholders sue them for, I don't know what it would be, negligence or breach of fiduciary duty or something, or another company takes them over and says, we got to turn Disney around. We have to start making money. And the only way to do that is to put away woke, or just start going in the opposite direction of woke, to get back to the 90s and 80s when family-friendly movies, oh, no, you understand, family-friendly means like trans, non-binary, furry, mixed-race, space communism. Oh, not to us. Oh, well, we're not marketing to you, Hugo Boss. Well, it's like most of the country believes that a family is a regular family. Anyway, so far, there's no indicator that woke is on the decline. If anything, because of Trump, Trump was bad enough in terms of triggering these people. Turns out that Elon Musk, something about him drives them even crazier. So what happens is the libs have gone to Blue Sky, is like a Twitter competitor, and they are flat out mentally ill, and they're plotting glow job type of stuff that, if we mentioned, would have the feds burning our neighborhoods down. Who is that guy? Davis or something? Rest in peace. So they're saving the environment by burning Tesla cars that have 1,000 pounds of lithium, deadly toxic poison. Thank God, send those children in Africa to the mines. They crave they crave heavy metals. It doesn't make sense, but the virtue signaling gives them a dopamine, serotonin. But like, you guys are burning these Tesla cars with this lithium in it. Yeah, that's right, to save the environment, and because he Roman saluted a few times. Okay, so like that's a resource you just sent up in the atmosphere. Congratulations for that. They're just going to make another Tesla car with that same amount of lithium in it. It gives their empty lives meaning. They think that they're the same as their grandfathers who are fighting the Japanese. Oh no, sorry, they don't focus on that theater of battle for some reason. It's sort of odd how like 90% of globalist-controlled Hollywood focuses on the beautiful and honorable Germans and not the Japanese monsters that went through Nanking with a katana. It's to the point where 3 out of 5 Indiana Jones movies fought the same antagonists. Even if you were a fan, they did not turn out for the 5th movie. And I thought the 4th movie was kind of fun. They go to space aliens and crystal skulls or something. It's like, yeah, it was all right. At least they went after commies that time. And what percentage of movies deal with the atrocities of the communists? What was the thing in Ukraine? The Holodomor? Pretty much nothing in the mainstream. There are alternative movies that cover that kind of stuff, but it's not so much what they show you, but it's what they don't show you. And up until social media, you wouldn't have even known about it unless you read books. And nowadays, people don't read books, unfortunately. So it turns out that everything is a narrative, and I'm learning that more and more as I get older. One way or another, most of the power of advertising and brainwashing is simply repetition of a message. And who was that guy, Bernays, on advertising? He was, I think, Sigmund Freud's nephew, and he wrote about the psychology of advertising. Ogilvy on advertising is another good book, too. The human hardware, the brain, hasn't advanced as fast as kind of the manipulative software that they use to reinforce messaging and shows you the power of slowly boiling a frog. The West has been brainwashed for so long that they don't even recognize it. That's why they're going so hard to destroy Japan. They need Japanese games to be fake and lighthearted and frivolous. To be, I wish that we could just use gay as a pejorative on YouTube. To be anti-white propaganda, and by replacing the Japanese with high birth rate third world people, it does what it's well known to do, is destroy social cohesion. That's not a surprise. That's been studied for hundreds of years. Every cultural anthropologist or sociologist can tell you about the effect, what affects social cohesion, bowling alone phenomenon, or 7-Eleven nationalism, like it did in America. And it, believe it or not, America used to be a really awesome place up until a few decades ago, and it will turn America. But the restaurants, we have recipes, and it will turn Japan into a dangerous, low-trust economic zone controlled by NGOs and bankers and United Nations types. They don't want countries to control themselves from within. The Japanese controlling Japan is problematic, as Sam Cedar would say with his interview with that blonde chick, because what matters is, Japan should be for the Japanese, and that's a problem to globalists, because any nationalism, they don't want the juxtaposition of a functioning natal nationalism to this globalist, diverse economic zone dystopian nightmare that the rest of us are living in, because simply you'd point to like, oh, hey, some of these Eastern European countries and Korea, East Asian countries are doing pretty well without quote unquote diversity from the third world. And so what these lizard people do is they get together and go, oh, well, we'll just diversify that country as well. So a good example is one of the Bolshevik themes I have noticed actually is well demonstrated in comic books. It's the found family concept, which they actually mention here in this article from this soy boy writer here. It's key to globalism because they have to destroy nationalism, which is organic. It's the right-hand path. So they have stories with race mixing because that weakens a group. And a good example is, you can look at the imagery of this video game here. You have a Japanese woman and a non-Japanese, and they're going around Japan slicing the heads off of actual Japanese people. Most people don't like that. It doesn't sit well with them because it means that she's a traitor to her own people. They would rather see the Japanese team up and remove this interloper's head and put it on a stake as a warning, and for a Japanese man to replace him and go on the missions. And it would be less distracting if everyone was Japanese, because when you see something like this, something that sticks out like a sore thumb, it's just a Larry Fink globalist checklist. And like I said in an earlier video, to tweak the noses of the SJWs that pretty much have stopped watching this channel. Somebody on Rumble, one girl said that she couldn't wait for the channel to be kicked off or something like that, which I don't think is going to happen on Rumble. If you replace the black guy with some Englishman, the story would work a whole lot better. And I know that sounds hypocritical. The difference is Englishmen or European of any sort are not used as Mary Sues in characters, at least not for the past 20 years. And the other big part is none of this stuff is being done in a vacuum. And Hollywood and video games kind of want you to pretend that this stuff is in a vacuum. And you just can't forget, like, we had, how many years of, like, the past 4 years of BLM, Soros-funded violent communist terrorism. But then before that, under Obama, there was also more BLM, black terrorist riots kind of stuff. And people can't just put that aside and then go watch some TV show where it's giving you a completely, like, anti-white narrative. The BBC has some show out about misogyny or something, and it's about like young boys hurting girls or something. And so the star of this made for TV movie, whatever you call these things, is of course an Englishman, and not any other, like an African or a Pakistani or Afghanistan or Indian or something. It's an actual English kid, and they go, oh, it's based on a real story, and then they show the stats, and they show the guy the story is based on, and plot twist, he's not English. So the thing is, we're being subjected to a massive globalist. What are you talking about? He's just as English as you and I. You look at the guy like, what are you talking about? It's just you're just taking crazy pills. We've been subjected to a massive globalist anti. But you know, if men can be women, then sub-Saharan Africans, I guess, can be Japanese or English. But oddly enough, I don't think it works the other way. We've been subjected to this globalist, massive anti-white psyop from these lizard people since post-World War II. The only way to destroy these bugs is to, speaking of bugs, they're coming out with a Starship Trooper remake. I'm sure that will be media literacy, my guy. I'm sure that'll be fantastic. Is to create pro-European narratives, to be as pro-white empowerment as possible, and to poop all over SJWs every chance you get because they're evil. And we're going to call them gay and retarded with our last breath. You have to be brutally honest with people. Pretend that you don't understand political correctness, like it's something you just don't get the nuance of. So you can get on Twitter and ask what the woke global homogenization propaganda is. Use a lot of buzzwords like Marxist, globalist, anti-white. Then when they ask you to define these terms, what do they call it, like sea lioning or porpoising or something? Scroll their Twitter account to find their ethnicity or whatever freakish sexual sodomite variety they are, so you can insult them specifically. If they're gay, POC, or some religion or something, you want to be able to stick the knife in where it hurts, but you just want to slip in with as many istophobic coded dog whistles as possible. You want them to think that they're dealing with some stereotype from the 80s, which I think I've actually perfected on Twitter. Then when they block you, don't block them back, because Twitter has a different block feature now. If you block them back, it just means you won't see what they're posting, but you want to still continue to interact with them and insult them. You can do that just by responding to your own post, so other people will see it and talk to you, and eventually the person will unblock you so they can read your insults because they get so triggered by it. The goal is to get them so mad that they issue death threats, and then you just pretend not to understand why they're so triggered. All you said was you didn't want to play some gay diversity hire vagina focused video game with an affirmative action sidekick. That's, how I don't understand why that would be offensive. There are no black samurai. Just give me a Japanese or an Englishman. You don't want them to think that you're dumb, just that you're so politically incorrect that you don't even understand the concept of racism. Like you didn't get that memo, or anti-Semitism, or whatever is popular for the day. These concepts aren't even real. They're just kind of more gay globalist nonsense from the kitty diddling Epsteins at the Frankfurt School. Trolling libshit dilating douchebags is an art form, and there should be competitions where the girls serve drinks in French-made outfits. Anyway, the found family concept is Frankfurt School 101, divide and conquer. In comics, they'll have a blonde girl arguing with her cliched drunken father in a white tank top that used to be popular, with cars up on blocks, because the left-wing pussy rioters like Al Ewing, he's from the Hulk, one of the Hulk comics that just concluded, they pretty much mainline estrogen up their buttholes. Everything from the left is endless straw man scenarios. Oh no, the dad uses racial epithets and doesn't believe in your imaginary pronouns. That means the dad is based and correct. So the blonde girl has to run off with her colored of colors friends of diversity and locked up shelves in retail deserts to go off and fight the man, where every evil character is blonde or green-eyed. The idiot from Game of Thrones, I forget that chick's name, she wrote some comic about PMS. It was a trilogy, and it was very wordy. A lot of word balloons were most of the page. And the main antagonist in that comic was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman leading a corporation, where statistically that would be 1 in a million, but libs can't put a Chinese or Indian in a negative light, so everything is some insane straw man. Reading comics is a fast way to get an understanding of the mind of the anti-white douchebag, because you get so many close-up images of eye and hair color. So you start to notice what the narrative is, what they're trying to push, where that I know this sounds schizophrenic, but in movies, that kind of eye and hair color tell you who these people are. It tells you the specific ethnicity of these people. And in comics, they have to show you that because you can't just blur it out. But in movies, the camera can blur that out. They can make people ambiguous. And I remember there was oh God, what was it? Birds of Prey, where the bad guys were ethnically ambiguous. They all had their heads shaved, and you couldn't close enough to see. I mean, they could have been anything. Could have been any kind of Eurasian character, and that's the way they wanted it. Where in a comic book, they have to have close-ups of the face, and it's like if it's blue or green, they're telling you to direct, and those are going to be the antagonists. They're telling you to direct your hatred at these blue and green-eyed people. It's like, well, who has blue and green-eyed? My precious, we do. So now Japan gets a little taste of the anti-Japanese psyop that's coming to destroy nationalism with a race-mixed found family. So the game is about a black guy running around removing Japanese from this mortal coil, and Ubisoft didn't see a problem with that. I mean, you could just film it in Oakland and it would be more accurate. And the Japanese are obviously not happy about it. And the funny thing was there was a deletion like that in Oakland. A black guy deletes a elderly Chinese man for poops and giggles, and the Antifa gets together and they do a march against white people. That actually happened. That's the level of cognitive dissonance these people are on, because they can't just look at a black guy and go, oh, hey, it looks like we have an issue here. Can we discuss this? And they look at you, it's like the needle scratch on the record. And go, hey, but like we're Asian, and these are our Asian grandfather, or even we're just residents of Oakland. It's like we have a crime issue here. Can we talk about this? Nope. You're just gonna get more of this issue. Like, yeah, they had a march literally against white people, people who the straw man believe they're supreme to other people. Literally, that was on their effing signs. And you're like, but there's no European American was involved in this. It was between blacks and Asians. Why are you dragging? Because they had to. They have to have a straw man. They just can't look at non-whites in a negative light. It's absolutely bizarre. Anyway, or God, what was that? What's the train in the East Bay? What's it called? The Underground train in the East Bay. They stopped publishing the pictures. BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit. They stopped publishing pictures of the we'll say the antagonists in that issue, who were teens who go on the trains and rob people. And they stopped publishing the pictures. We just say if they look like me, the pictures would still be published. But they didn't. They said that people would be racist if they saw the pictures. Pray tell, why would they? What are you saying there, Oakland? Anyway, most normal people can look at this and see that you need to replace the black guy with an Asian guy, or at least a European guy who people would accept more easily. And if you put an Englishman in there, a little, who was that guy? Tom Cruise type of character in here, the outrage from the left would be awesome. And a white guy would be accepted by more people, even more so by the Japanese. But the thing is, because the association with when woke companies use black characters as their puppets, it's gonna suck. Because in the past 15 years, I think it always has sucked. And only European characters can be multifaceted. They can have a hero's journey, a character arc, from having flaws and having to overcome things. The standard hero goes off to rescue the girl and fight the dragon and go on some adventures and learn little lessons along the way. It's like a life journey compressed into a few months of a hero's journey for a story. But non-blonde characters can't have that because they can't start off as imperfect. They have to be Mary Sue's right from the start. What Zach used to talk about black characters? They're like the soulful brother where they're just perfect in every regard. It's like, oh, well, that kind of makes for a boring character. Yeah, but they're trapped. They're in this Chinese finger trap. They're in some kind of trap where they just can't paint themselves out of it. That's why I don't see woke in Hollywood turning itself around, which is going to be fantastic to watch, because if you're lucky, you might see some of these companies take some serious financial hits in the next few years, to the point where someone else can come in and get controlling interests of them. The thing is, you don't have to support these games or movies. I mean, I definitely don't. That's what VPNs and hardwares and external hard drives are for. You can really get everything you'll ever need on like a 1.5 terabyte hard drive, and that's like $120 or something. You can put this stuff on micro SD cards. You get the idea. There's really no need to support Hollywood. There's like, you could take a cutoff time and say everything before this cutoff time is solid. Same for comics as well. I would say for comics like 1990, just go online and find all that stuff, and the money you spend on the external hard drives is going to be a much bigger savings than the money you'd spend on like Disney Plus type of stuff. And then, you're supporting the worst people on earth as well. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys all next episode.